Welcome to Coffee Connections, where we shine a light on people making an impact and making a difference in our city. So sit back and relax and enjoy this conversation. Thank you, Michelle, for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to do a brief introduction for Michelle, and here's what I'm going to say. Besides the fact that she is a longtime friend of mine, and I'm really happy she said yes to be here, one of the things that prompted me to ask Michelle to be here is she is like a lot of us. She's a mom, she's an everyday person, she's a parent, she's a worker, she's someone who loves her family. That's a lot of us. Even if you're not a parent and you're not a mom, you still are an everyday person out there living your life in the world, doing the best you can. And I've had people on here who have nonprofits and are doing amazing things in the nonprofit world. And I also wanted to bring someone on who is making a difference, not just in her work life, but in her personal life. And how does she do that? And what does that look like? So I had this thought about mothering, like the actual act of mothering. And mothering doesn't mean you have to be a woman. It doesn't mean you even have to have had a child. It is the act of caring for our community and others. And mothers traditionally have done that since the beginning of time. But we also have caregivers who are women and men, parents, people who have not been parents. And one of the ways you care that I've always admired is how you watch out for your people. And so that's why I wanted to have you on today. And I want everyone to please join me in welcoming Michelle and being here. So again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Michelle, you know the reason I've asked you here. I would like to just start with, do you feel, there's my Southern coming out of me, do you feel that your caregiving instincts and the things that you do to show people you care for them are something you were born with, or is it something you've developed?
I think it's a little bit of both. My mom has to get all of the credit and the glory because I could only strive to be as great of a mother that she was. And she was always the mother that showed up to everything, never showed up late, fixed her schedule to just always be there. So that was a great example. But also, I've created my own type of mothering and connecting to my village with how I kind of care for those around me. And that's just something that was innate within me that just happened. It wasn't something that I really learned from another place. I just picked it up, and I've always connected with people and things and always knew the people around me that may need things. And it just connects the dots, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Knowing you like I do, I know that you're a leader. And I also think that moms are leaders just by nature of what they have to do.
Thank you.
You are a problem solver. And I do think one of the features of people who are out there making a difference, you have a problem in front of you, and how do you solve that problem? And that is something I think you do naturally. Tell me, when someone comes to you with a problem, what's your thought process? How does that happen for you? When you hear someone, are you listening? Or if someone just directly says, this is what I need, give the listeners an idea of what goes on in Michelle's brain when
Well,
someone presents a problem.
first and foremost, I've got to ask the person who's talking to me if they're one looking for a solution.
Yeah.
Sometimes they may not be looking for a solution, they just want to vent. So I want to be a safe space to my people and not always give them a solution if that's not what they're looking for. So first is to be a sounding board and to
Hmm.
find out, what do you need from me?
Hmm.
Once you're ready for solutions, I process things in a very simplistic manner. So it's what's the shortest way between 2 points, which is a straight line. It's not always straight. It can have some curves, and sometimes you get there faster with those curves than going a straight line. But it's finding a simple solution that's effective, because beating a dead horse is no fun for anybody. And sometimes just a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective can really shift easily.
Can you give me an example of where someone has brought something to you and you went into problem solving mode? What did you do? How did you do it? Can you give me?
Well, I think one of the things I'm most known for is I almost have a manifestation when it comes to physical things. So if
Oh,
I'm having
okay.
a conversation with someone and they mention, I need a desk, I need a chair, I need a bed, I need a whatever, I'm a thrifter. I like to recycle, reuse, rehab items. I love going to an estate sale, a yard sale. Heck, I'll stop on the side of the road and pick up something if need be and find a way to repurpose it because I hate things that can still be used going in the landfill. It never fails when people mention those type of physical needs. That item within a short period of time will typically manifest itself in the physical realm in my life in some way, shape, or form. And it's creepy, but it is wildly accurate. And I even keep a little list of things of my immediate village of just what needs people tell me about. If it's my extended village of people that I've just met or having more random conversations with, I'll put those people's names in my phone and then put that need next to their name so that I can easily search and figure out who needed what. But I'm constantly running across things that are a great value, sometimes our favorite, which is FREE, and just matching those items with the home that it really needs to be at. And sometimes I come up on things and I may or may not be able to use it myself, but the trickle down effect, almost like the sisterhood of traveling pants, we'll find somebody who can put it to good use.
So you put a note beside the person's name.
Yes.
Say someone says, I need a queen bed. My daughter's bed is gone kaput and she's grown out of it, whatever it is. They need a
Right.
queen bed. You put queen bed beside their name. How is it brought back up? Like, tell me
I
more.
try to stick to one or two words, so it may just be Pam Ahern Queen or Pam Ahern bed rails.
Okay.
But my immediate people, I keep a little notepad because knowing my
Like a
immediate
paper
village
notepad?
in my phone because I'm having more conversations with my village and my people. So I know that their needs are more than that one or two things. So that way I can see it on my little notepad. And when I come across it, know who was it that told me about that thing. Because my memory here isn't what it used to be. So I need a notepad or something to keep me on track. And I also will reach out to that person and say, hey, you mentioned you had a need for this. I just came across it. This is a photo of it. Is it something you would be interested in? This is the cost. I'm not just gathering things and then forcing it on people. I'm making sure that's what they're looking for and it fits that need because we don't want to create more waste and more things.
So you're more of a conduit. You're not
Basically.
necessarily going to get it and deliver it, which I'm assuming you could or would do. You're
Yeah,
really
depending on the
essentially,
thing.
this is a conduit where you're the clear channel for I need, and then the want is being satisfied because Michelle's list.
It's the connection piece, but
Yeah.
absolutely a conduit.
Is there's the power in small actions. And I know to you, this is just something you do, but can you think of or remember a time where there was something that you would have thought was a small something that someone needed, but it had a big impact to them?
I can think of more examples than I have time to tell you.
We got a minute, so why don't you give us a
That's
couple of examples? I think
that's just everyday
people want
life.
an idea of what they
Like,
can do.
but for one instance, I've worked on a construction site before. And on that construction site, I was able to obtain some temporary fencing that goes on a front patio. I've had that fencing in my garage for longer than I probably want to tell you. And I ended up in using it at a property that I'm flipping right now and using that so it didn't get thrown out and it
So
fits
it's not
perfectly.
temporary now, it's permanent.
It's not temporary, but it fit perfectly. I held on to it, but I'm also not a hoarder. I
Were
don't
they
want to
going to
hold
throw
on to
that all
things.
away?
They were going to throw it away. And it was great lumber, and lumber we all know is not cheap. So to have that and be able to repurpose it just was great to assess that need and have the materials right here.
I love it. I love it. Can you give us another example?
Sometimes it's not in the physical. I sold a house last year and helped do a renovation. And sometimes it's just life experience that comes into play with just making things simple, like
Mhm.
utilizing your own labor and your own sweat equity. And a coat of paint can go a long way. You don't need $100,000 renovation. Just be smart about it, be strategic with where you place things and how you function different spaces, and really make the biggest bang for your buck. So sometimes it's just being that outsider looking in to say, I appreciate that you have all these grand ideas. Let's start simple. Let's do the biggest impact with the least amount of funds. And it may be big effort, but not big pocketbook.
Got it.
So how do we utilize our efforts to get the biggest bang for the buck? Whether that be painting, whether that be ripping up carpet and flooring, whether that be ripping out vanities and replacing it, and being strategic with where you get those things, like utilizing local liquidation stores, not being afraid to go deal seeking and looking to see what's on the clearance aisle. Even if something has a slight ding or damage, how can you fix that to purpose it and give it life so it doesn't get thrown out?
Yeah. Yeah. That Sears scratch and dent, I remember is a good
Oh,
spot
yeah.
too.
Best Buy has one up in Kennesaw, Best Buy clearance, and I bought
Nice.
several appliances from there. And sometimes it's a ding that's not on the front of the refrigerator because no one wants to be excited about going and making an adult purchase like that and then having a
Right.
big old bump on the front of it that you see every time you walk past it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I know that you're not always helping friends and your tribe or your people, as you say, and like you said, not always in the material way. I know that you are a mom. So you've done some volunteer work as a mom at
I know.
schools,
Yes,
right?
I was involved in the PTA at my daughter's elementary school, and I still give my time back to that school, even though my daughter's in seventh grade now and well into her middle school years, and put together some pretty big events for the school that have been renowned for years past. And I'm even going back and volunteering and helping year after year with seeing those type of events through whenever there's a need. And I also feel like I've got a lot of life experience, and sometimes these experiences and knowledge may just be sitting and resting in my brain. So if someone has a question that comes along after me, I'm always happy to give that time and pay it forward to share what I know and make it easier for the next person. So simple is always best. Don't ever be afraid to ask the question. If there's a source that might have the information, but then you feel crazy going and asking the question, ask the question. The worst that can happen is they say no. But a lot of knowledge is in a lot of brains, especially mom brains, and we can't wait to share, especially if it could be useful.
So not only are you open hearted, you're open minded to
Gotta
be able
be,
to go in and open your mouth
gotta
and ask
be.
for what you
And
need. Yeah.
I've recently started assistant coaching on my daughter's softball team. So if there's a way that I can give back, also being a mom, it's different having a mom as a coach on the team amongst all the dads because mom's going to look at it a different way than the dads are. I also can be the mother hen on the team. And when the kids are talking, the athletes are talking while the coach is talking, I've been known to go stand behind them to remind them that we're going to be respectful. And the dads don't always want to get on to the girls because we know how the girls have a soft spot with dads. So I can be a stern voice and a soft voice.
And then when they start to get stern, it sounds very stern and it can be intimidating. So you're right. That is nice to have you give the softer but still firm side to say, we're going to
And I tell them at the beginning of the season, we're going to be respectful first and foremost. We're going to not talk when each other's talking because you can't listen and talk at the same time. But I also am not one to repeat myself very many times. So I've let them know I will just come and stand with you. If you need some extra attention, I'm happy to give it to you. And when you see or feel me standing around you, it's probably because you might need to zip it. So it's a soft reminder because I don't want, I'm there to make an impact positively and I don't want it to be a negative experience. But we first have to listen.
tell me more. Listening is definitely a good idea. I always think about when my daughter was in school and also on a sports team, and my husband was coaching. That was also just like you were saying with that coach here for the dads sometimes to come down, it feels a little harsher, more
Yeah.
harsh for them.
And they receive it a little more harshly.
They do. Tell me a little bit, if you will, about the events, because I know whether it is I'm planning a garage sale for my neighborhood,
Yeah.
or I'm going to do a spring fling for my kids' school, or my office has something and I want to do a coat drive, or you have an idea. So someone in our world here in Atlanta has an idea and there are listening to Coffee Connections. I want to do something. What would be your first tip or tips that you would say, here's how you could get started? Here's what I do in my brain, how I do it.
I always begin with the end in mind. and I work backwards from there. And I'm a list person. So sometimes my to-do list, I need a list for my list. But it's pretty satisfying to mark the items off of the list. And this is a physical handwritten paper list.
So not in a note.
A piece of paper. I'm a visual person, and it also is satisfying, like I'm saying, to scratch off or check mark or whatever works for you. But I remember what's on my list because I've written it down and I've read it going back through the list time and time again. So you've got to assess the need. And once you make your mind up that you want to get involved, it's okay, what is the end result that I'm looking to create here? And when I got involved in my daughter's school's PTA, I went in as a vice president. I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm like, I'm a great supporting actor. I don't need to be the lead, but I'm a great behind the scenes person that can do multiple things that I don't need accolades for. Let me just help boost the person who is the front man or woman and be that background. And the front person ended up resigning 2 months into their term, and I was voted in before I knew what was happening. And I didn't have a clue what to do. There was no manual, but it's like motherhood. There's no manual. You just figure it out. And I quickly met with the principal and let them know what my thoughts were and to make sure what I was thinking was in alignment with what the school's needs were. And I'm a less is more. So I would rather do less things, less events that are at a bigger scale and that are more memorable and more well planned and executed than little tiny things all the time that just exhaust everyone. Having that less is more agreement up front was nice because I said, hey, we can do movie night in the fall. We can do a big spring fling. When it gets close to the holidays, we can do some loving on our teachers and do a potluck or do some type of meal. On Teacher Appreciation Week, we can feed them again. We can do these teacher planning days. We provide some appetizers in the, teachers lounge just to make sure that they just feel that love. But if you're looking for someone to be in the school every single week, that's not me. I'm running a business and I'm a mom and I'm volunteering in other areas. I've got to keep my efforts streamlined and stay focused. So less is more, begin with the end in mind and make to-do lists. And as you proceed with thinking about the end result and all the things that come into it, those checklists are going to be pretty long at first. And then as you work through, okay, if it takes all these things to get to this phase one, and then it takes all these things to get to phase two, you're just redeveloping those lists and their action items. And it just all comes together.
I guess you can't be afraid to ask for help either, right? Otherwise you burn out.
You have to ask for help, but you also have to understand that you've got to organize the help.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to delegate, and you've got to give deadlines, realistic deadlines, not just, it needs to happen right now because it just is. So be an easy person to work with, but know that when you're signing up to take it on, that it's your deal at the end of the day, and you've got to see it through if it's something that you signed up for. Holding true to your word is also really important.
And the great thing is, for an example, in the PTA, all the events, like you're talking about the one thing you were leading it. There's the committee. There's someone who was helping with the committee. There's someone who was helping the person who's helping the committee. There's the person who's setting up at the end. There's always a way to, if you see a need, insert and say, hey, I'd like to be of service. How can I help?
Absolutely. And getting others involved, but also realizing at the end of the day, everyone has a life. People get sick and can't show up at the last moment. And sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, and you still got to grin through it and just make it happen.
And everybody's going to have a good time anyway, generally.
And don't get caught up on the small stuff. It's great to have it all planned and expect for it to be perfect, but accept that perfection is just not possible. And everyone's going to have a good time. And when it's elementary age kids, they're not looking at it through our adult lens. It doesn't need to be perfect for us. It needs to be perfect for your audience.
Yeah. That's right. They're the ones receiving it. Let them tell you.
Because you want their memory to be that, oh my God, there was the bouncy house and the dunk tank and all these games and the cotton candy. Or do you want them to think that mom was running around frantic the whole time and screaming at everybody?
Mm-hmm.
So being self-aware is also nice. And you got to have people in your tribe that'll check you.
Do you have people around you who also do the same kinds of things that you do, looking out for others?
Yes, but I feel like you naturally attract people that are similar to you, but also feel a different need. Because if everybody's offering the same thing, you're not well-rounded tribe.
It's your wheelhouse.
It
This is
is.
your wheelhouse, right?
Yes. And I didn't set out to be the connection person, but it's grown to be what I'm known for. And when people need things now, or they have things that they want to disappear from their life, I'm typically the person that people reach out to. And I can't fulfill every need. If there's realtors out there that have houses that have sold and people don't want the stuff, let me know. If there's people that are downsizing or moving or have elder parents that they can't really do anything with those items anymore or don't know what to do, I also know great estate sale companies to have a sale and to get rid of those things, or local people that it can be donated to and used right here in the community. So it's not always about me touching those items myself, but just being the connection, like coffee connection, being the
Exactly.
connection within the community of taking a load off and just making it simple.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just need to talk to the right person.
I cannot tell you how many times I've gone through things. I'm like, I'm about to do a round of things to go take to be donated. And you're like, let me take a look first, see who has. And that's what made me think about it. You do it all the time. And I know you have a good half a dozen to a dozen people that are regularly on your
Right,
searching list. And so it's great. I can generally, most of it gets gone
right.
when I just one
And it's
call.
right. One call, that's all. But I'm not holding on to these things myself. I don't
I know.
have a pile up in my garage or in my basement. And I even had a friend recently that we're at the gym and they're going to Goodwill to donate some stuff. And I'm like, let me see what you got. And he had a lot of empty containers, like kind of shoebox size containers. And I was like, I'll take those. My mom could use them. Like my mom always has the grandkids and she needs things to put small pieces. And I called her and I was like, I have maybe a dozen, and are you interested in them? And she was like, absolutely. She said, did you get all of them? I did. She immediately put them to use. I didn't hold on to them for longer than I just had to get to her. But it's just those things happen quickly and easily all the time.
And it gives you a reason to reach out to your people and
Absolutely.
for you
It's
to
all
be
about
the rock
connection.
star in their life.
Absolutely.
I love that. I think it's incredible and I think it's powerful for me. One, I'm in relationship with you, so I know it can be powerful, but I think it's also powerful for other people to hear that there can be small ways,
Absolutely.
seemingly small ways, let me say this, to be impactful, to make a difference, to show
Right.
up for people. I believe that you were helping to organize a women's clothing swap. I'm trying to think what else I know that you've helped organize. Oh, book donation drops.
Absolutely. But it may be a small bid for yourself, but a big impact on the receiving end. So
Mhm.
there's just no efforts that are too small. For myself, helping out at the school and sharing my knowledge about how to put together the spring fling is no skin off my back. I have been through it more than enough times to rinse and repeat and just
Mhm.
remake the same type of recipe. But on the receiving end, that is pretty big knowledge for them. And for me, it's no skin off my back. It's it's easy, but just ask your people. You never know what people are up to and what their
Right.
capabilities are.
So you have a daughter and you said she's in middle school. As we're wrapping up this, I'd like to ask, does she have that gene that you have? Can you see it in her? I
Absolutely.
mean, it's
She is
okay.
a helper. She's also a Leo. So she's a born leader. And I've had several teachers tell me in parent teacher conferences and just me volunteering and being around the school that she is a great helper and that sometimes she has to be invited to stop helping.
She
Because
wants to take over.
it's great to have the assistance, but then we also need her to continue being a student. But I just see her in everyday life mimicking the environment in which she was raised and just extending herself, being helpful to her friends, assessing needs, and just giving back, ready to volunteer. Even we'll go and have dinner. We've been at your house having dinner and we'll finish our plates and she'll be right there with me collecting the plates and starting to wash the dishes and just assessing a need and just handling it. Sometimes it doesn't need to be a long drawn out conversation. We don't need an organized committee after dinner of who's going to do what. You just clear everything. You make it easy on the host and you're sure to be invited back when you help out.
So I wonder if your household mantra is if you see something, do something. In other
Just
words, if
do
you
it.
see something that needs to be done, just do it. Don't
Right.
wait.
Right. And of course she's still a kid, so she doesn't always take the initiative. But I grew up watching that with my mom, and she's the busybody, and then I became a busybody, and now I'm raising a little busybody. So we're always doing something, we're always touching something, and we just try to make it productive.
I love that. You're teaching in some ways responsibility and leadership. And I also think with that, there's a undercurrent of resilience, because resilience means you're always looking for a solution. You're always looking for a way to take care of things. And so if you're doing that, you're able to continue to feed yourself and others in any
Absolutely.
number of ways. You're able to continue to go because you know how to reach out and ask for help. You're able to last longer because you've got other people with you. Not
Right.
only are you helping, I'm imagining when you help, you also get a little something in return, even if it's just the feel goods.
Yes, absolutely. And you give to give, you don't give to receive, but the universe will provide. Whatever you're putting out, it'll come back. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also feel like when you're solution oriented and it's just part of your makeup, when things do get tough or your back is against the wall or you have a huge speed bump ahead, it's a lot easier to push forward and just, okay, we just handle this. If yesterday my truck broke down on the side of the highway in the
This
middle
happened
of
in
me
real
moving
life, you
some
mean?
stuff, this is real life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting on the side of I-20 and it's okay. I'm sitting here. I can't sit here and cry about it and freak out. I need to call a tow truck. I might need to call an Uber to pick me up off the side of the road. I might be able to ride with the tow truck, but I still have to complete the mission here. So after the tow truck, what's the next step? And I don't give myself a lot of times to sulk in the moment because the moment's already passing. I'm not going to celebrate the problem. We're going to move forward
And look
into
for
the
that solution.
solution and actively engage in the solution.
Yeah. The community that you created around you gives you, I think, and others, when you create that community around you and you know that you have a community that you can count on or go to, gives you that calmness in the middle of something crazy. So when things are going nuts and the world is spinning out of control or your car dies on the side of the road, you can take a breath because you know you've got it. Someone else is going to be there. You just have to take that moment and go, all right, it's going to be fine.
Yep.
And I think the community, which is why I'm doing this, the community of Atlanta, the community closer in, our greater Georgia community, there are so many people out there in community willing to be there in big
Yep.
and small ways. So I wanted to shine a light on this mom here making a difference with the people around her. And
Thank you.
thank you. It is incredible to be able to have you here today on Coffee
Thank you.
Connections. Do
Thank
you have
you.
anything else you'd like to share with everybody as we wrap up?
I just appreciate that everyone's willingness and open-mindedness to help others. It really does create community. And if you feel that there's something lacking, it's typically the connection to your local people. So just do something different. No change is going to happen unless you make one small change every day. And sometimes that's just having a conversation. Sometimes that's going out and volunteering. Sometimes it's just a mental shift. So be open and be there for your people and check on your strong friends because sometimes you never know what's going on, but your strong friends go through things too.
To everyone watching, I'd like to just leave you with a question. What skills, experiences, or gifts do you have that you could put to use? How can you take one step today to use them, to share them? That's my question to you, Atlanta. So thank you, Michelle, for being here. Thank you for
Thank
being a
you.
part of Coffee Connections. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks again.
And everyone else, please, if you love this conversation, remember to subscribe and share it with others. Thanks, Michelle. Bye.
Thank you.